You are looking live at the Randy Hill's headquarters in my hometown, Jonesboro, Arkansas. Our remote co-host is in Birmingham, Alabama. Our producer, Adam Dunn, is in the state of Georgia. It is the last day of March 2026. Welcome to the only live Memphis-based wrestling talk show on the face of God's green earth. Welcome to Talking Memphis Wrestling. Here we go.
Talking Memphis Wrestling with Randy Hales is now streaming live on Fun Media at fun927.com and is always on Facebook, YouTube, X, Twitch, and at tv5wrestling.com.
Talking Memphis Wrestling with Randy Hales and special guests.
Hello again, everybody. It's live as live can be. It's Randy Hales from Jonesboro, Arkansas, and we're ready to go with a great talk in Memphis wrestling. Tons of pictures, ton of talk, a Wrestlemania mini preview of Memphis wrestling talk at the Yang Yang with great video from the USWA Smoky Mountain Feud, a great photo section you will love, just so much more, including talking about the WWE Hall of Fame coming up. Just fantastic stuff. Now we're going to go back to 6 years ago, except for a few differences. That's when we first appeared at Talking Memphis Wrestling, and Randy West was watching. Randy West and I lived in the same city at the time in Hendersonville, Tennessee. He's in Hendersonville. I'm in Jonesboro. And Randy in the house watching, as is Todd, as is Mike, as is Pat Rose, as is Andrew Calvin Jr., all kinds of people. But the person that was with me 6 years ago is in Birmingham, Alabama. He missed a couple of weeks because he forgot his password. He couldn't get online. He was in a hotel, couldn't do it from the phone. There's been all kinds of problems, but guess what, everybody? I'm excited. I'm fired up. I can't wait to bring in for his first day the great Mr. Pat Trammell. Come on in the show. Come in this house. Welcome to the show, Pat Trammell.
You'd think I owe you money with that kind of introduction. I'll tell you what. Well, great to be back. Great to be able to figure out how to change your password. PJ, good to see you. Pat Rose, Randy West, Mike, Todd, Calvin Jr., good to see everybody. I am so glad to be back, and I am particularly glad for tonight's show because it is one of my favorite. We are going and gonna explore one of my favorite angles of all wrestling history.
All right.
And something that I think could be the future of wrestling, and we'll get to that.
Calvin Lindsay Jr. says, welcome back, Pat.
Thank you, sir.
7144 says, hello, Mr. Hales. Hello to you. And our friend PJ is in the house as well. Pat, why don't you go ahead and do your first take of the program? You got the plug in after I already got the plug in, but that's okay.
Well, you know,
everybody, even though I already said hello to everybody, obviously you don't listen to me, but do a first take today, Pat Trammell.
Well, I have personal relationships with all these folks too. Maybe they're tuning in for me.
But if I say welcome and call them out, we're taking, you just don't know television. It's a wonder the show ain't the shits. But you do a great job. Your first take.
My first take is, and I'll go ahead and spill my spill my beans on this. I love this is one of my favorite angles in the world, and it is the Memphis Smoky Mountain Wrestling Feud, the Power Pro Smoky Mountain Wrestling Feud, and I've always believed that that is a stroke of genius on your part, Randy, and Cornette's part. And we all here bemoan the death of territory wrestling, and I know Billy Corgan, for example, pulled the NWA together and has kind of a little bit of a territory going group going. But I think that wrestling could survive if you had territories and you had invasions of the territories. And I think you could have territory competitions, and that's when I hit the lottery. That's where I think I'm going to spend all my money. I think we're going to set up a Memphis territory, and we're going to set up a Birmingham territory, and we're going to set up a East Tennessee territory and let Bo run that, and Louisville, and we're going to do invasion angles on each other all the time, and do it closed circuit TV. How about that?
That's the best idea I've ever heard that would go through a $1 billion lottery win. That would be a hell of a way to lose a bunch of money. Good idea. Good idea.
All right.
What's going on, Frank Seaton? Good to see you. We are going to start now by doing a little work, and we are going to start by going, Adam, the second to last graphic that's on the screen down at the bottom. It's 5461. 5461 at the bottom, because coming up on Wrestlemania time, and that's of course in April. It's a little later in April than it is normally. It will be April the 18th and April 19th, WrestleMania 2026. But the Hall of Fame candidates have been named. And Pat, I want you and our audience, Team Hales, to let us know what they think about this year's inductees in the Hall of Fame. Apparently the main event will be 2026 WWE Hall of Fame inductee Stephanie McMahon. Also inducted in the celebrity wing of the WWE Hall of Fame for the class of 2026 is Dennis Rodman. We announced last week that our pal from West Memphis that became a legend left us too soon. Hall of Famer in the legacy division, Sid Vicious. Recent retiree, AJ Styles, will be inducted into this year's Memphis Wrestling Hall of our WWE Hall of Fame. I say Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame like it's a natural thing. But AJ Styles going into the WWE Hall of Fame. Then finally, a tag team. It's Demolition going into the Hall of Fame this year. So, Pat, I don't know how much in advance you saw those names, but go ahead and give us your thoughts on the 2026 class.
Well, I have seen the names, and I think I don't really have I'm not really a big fan of putting celebrities in the Hall of Fame. So I like Dennis Rodman fine. He had a good run with the Bulls and acted a little nutty, and so I know he did some work there. So not a big fan of that though. But other than that, I think it's a well deserving. Well deserving class. I will say Demolition, in my view, is probably overdue to be in a lot of Hall of Fames. That was some special. a tag team, and I think letting Stephanie in is just that's the right thing. And she and Shane both for I have a generally have not thought very much of people who were born on third base and thought they hit a triple, but she and Shane really worked hard in that business through the years, and I think she's contributed a lot to it.
Absolutely, I couldn't say that better. And of course, one of Demolition, as Frank says, is the masked superstar. Donnie says, "What it is, Randy? Hey, Donnie, what's happening with you?" And Alexander says, "Bad News Brown is also in the WWE Hall of Fame." Alexander says his birthday Easter Sunday. Alexander, happy birthday to you. Alexander says hello to me. And Richard Hood is watching tonight. I think Richard watches on Twitch. Couldn't get on last week. Richard, can you not get on Twitch? It's certainly glad to have you here watching on YouTube. Freight Seaton says hello to me and you both. Before we get into the meat and potatoes of this show on Talking Memphis Wrestling, Adam, if you could go up on the graphics and put the WrestleMania publicity up there. I think it's just simply labeled WrestleMania 2026. If you can get that up there. Once again, it is the 18th and 19th of the month of April. That's coming up because, of course, tomorrow is the first day. Tomorrow is the first day of the month coming up, and I'll go ahead and put it up there. And this is the graphic for WrestleMania in Las Vegas on Saturday, April the 19th, coming up in a few weeks. We already talked about the WWE Hall of Fame, and we talked about that class. Now, they haven't said, because it's a two-night event, what's going to be the main event of night one and night two. I think night one will probably be for the undisputed title, Cody Rhodes against Randy Orton. Then that's a world title. Then night two, I think, is going to be Punk and Roman Reigns. One's called an undisputed world title, and the other one's called the WWE world title. Punk and Roman and Cody and Rhodes. I think those will be your main events each night. Which night, I don't have any idea. If I would have to bet, I would say Roman and Punk would be night two. Also on that card, the ladies' world title, Liv Morgan against Stephanie McCure. Women's title, again, Pat, two world titles. That drives me nuts. Rhea Ripley against Jade. Brock Lesnar against Oba Femi. Sami Zayn against Crick Williams. Jacob Fatu versus Drew McIntyre in an unsanctioned match. Finn Balor against Dominic Mysterio. A fatal five-way, a fatal four-way women's match, and Seth against Gunther. That's the matches listed so far for WrestleMania 2026. This is WrestleMania number 42. So, Pat, what's your thought process on the list of names and the card and the fact that 2 years in a row, WrestleMania, I don't like this, is in Vegas for 2 years in a row. They were going to go with New Orleans. However, Vegas outbid them. And now, apparently, especially early on, and especially because of the ticket prices, it's lower than expected ticket sales, but we still have several weeks to go. Your thoughts?
I think that's a really good card. We'll say hello to Bo and Gary and Hans and everybody. Good to hear from you, Bo. I I think that's a really good card
Yes.
and good matchups. Not just stars, but good matchups.
And it's not over yet. They'll add more stuff and they'll spice it up, and that's sort of thing. Shane says, I have a problem with the WWE Hall of Fame. How can they put Bad News Brown in and yet Ken Patera is not in? That probably because Ken Patera had heat with Vince McMahon and Bad News Brown didn't. Demolition, Pat, you were saying they were long overdue, and I agree, but they were a part of the class action lawsuit for billions of dollars against the WWE.
Okay.
Do you reckon that might be why they're not in?
Could have a little bit something to do with it. I've got and Todd asked, will WWE ever induct Memphis legends? And somebody mentioned Tommy Rich, I think. You know, it bothers me a little bit when they induct somebody that's not a New York WWF WWE wrestler. We've got a Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame, and there's a couple others out there. I just don't. I mean, I don't know if Dundee or Tommy or Austin Idol ever wrestled for Vince that I know of.
Now, Austin Idol did not as Austin Idol. Iron Mike McCord is an underneath guy when he just started in the business.
Okay, but that's before I was born.
Now, Dundee never did. Tommy Rich, I think, early on when he was hot off that TBS television, didn't he make a couple of shots for Madison Square Garden? A couple of spots, not many.
I don't know, Randy. I've never seen it if he has, but I know that was still the territory days and people would go do that. But I don't really know.
All right, just very interesting, and it's good to hear from everybody. And certainly, I'm trying to look and see if we missed anything. I know Bo James, and I am not going to repeat stuff. We need to have in the next month or so Bo on just to catch up with Bo. He was a little mad at me, but I blame you because you're the one that asked to have Tony Richards on the show, and Bo got a little aggravated, but he been aggravated at me before. He for some reason didn't like my payoffs. I don't know why. Richard says
who did like your payoffs?
I guarantee you that a lot of people did if we drew. We drew. And if you were pushed, and Bo was a young guy in the business, and he wasn't really pushed. However, if I had him now, he'd probably be my heavyweight champion. Richard Hood said Tommy Rich had a cup of coffee at Madison Square Garden. Again, I'll fall back on Todd because I do not think that Dundee will ever be in the Hall of Fame. I think the WWE feels now they own wrestling and responsible for the legacy of wrestling, and so I think they try to do more now than they used to. And Bo says, put Bo's up there. So I don't think he's knocking me, Adam. He says, I never was hot about your payoffs. I ran towns. I knew I was being taken care of to the best of your ability. That's why I always like promoters in the future or that sort of thing, because they understood what the boys didn't understand, that there's insurance and there's rent and there's newspaper costs and window cost, and it's not cheap to run wrestling at all. And if Pat wins that lottery and decides to open up Memphis and Birmingham and Nashville and Kingsport and Knoxville
and Chattanooga,
and Pat sees that money go away quickly because it goes away quicker now. I don't know. Here's the thing: live events. The Arkansas State University women is in the NIT tournament. They are in. It's called the Final Four in men's basketball. In women's basketball, it's called the Fab Four. They've bidded so far They've been in and they've received 3 home games. We played uh, twice. And for women's basketball, to get to that point, and they've won, I think, 26 or 27 games. It's great. That building seats 7,000 people, and there's been healthy for women's basketball in Jonesboro, but they did 2,000 people, Pat, a live event. But people could watch for free in the comfort of their own home by streaming. Is live event, except the WrestleManias, the Super Bowl, the big events, the WrestleManias, is live event business as a whole not dead, but not the same?
Are you asking?
I'm asking you.
Yeah, yes, but this is interesting. A guy that works for me, Birmingham has a double A baseball team. And I knew nothing about this, and it used to be 3 blocks from our old office. But there's something called cosmic baseball now that it's black light, and the players are in black light, and the ball's black light, and all that kind of stuff, and it's like a poor man's Savannah Banana thing. And they sold out 3 nights in a row in our Double A stadium.
That's fantastic.
It is.
Fantastic.
So I was wondering if we could figure a wrestling thing out like that. I think, it things evolve and people spend their money different, and there is a lot more to watch on your phone, on your TV, on whatever the kids watch now and listen to. So live events, I think, are probably down everywhere.
Yeah, it's just a thing in the past. The days of weekly matches every week, I think that would be hard to do. Do you?
Um,
And be successful.
in the same town, yeah, yeah. I mean, you'll never see a Memphis again for sure. Uh,
Or even a Chattanooga or a Birmingham or a Nashville.
well, yeah. I mean, their weekly town will be tough, but I do think I do think that they're still is a play, probably a place with a living for spot shows and TV. And Bo's going to show us because he's about to go back on get back on TV and open it up in North Alabama, and we'll maybe we have him on to talk about that.
Now, Bo's been on TV with Southern States Wrestling in East Tennessee.
I
He is
know.
opening up Huntsville, and I'm thrilled to death. And I'm sure down the line I will visit again. I sat in on one of his television shows in East Tennessee and did the special guest commentary role, and that's always fun to do because I feel back to the roots. And Calvin says Owen Hart should be in the WWE Hall of Fame. And Calvin and Pat will help me on this. At one time, and he may be at this point now, Owen Hart might have been inducted by now, but at one point, Martha Hart, the widow of Owen Hart,
Yeah,
would not.
did not want any
Clearly.
part of that, and I don't know if that's changed or not. Maybe somebody here, um, maybe somebody here knows, but yeah, I knew that she had no interest in that.
King of Kingsport, Bo James, said it. Somebody said hello to Bo. And Bo says to us, monthly towns with spot shows seem to be the way to go and way to run now. And that makes a lot of sense. Our best town in Power Pro was Jonesboro, and we ran it once a month. It was always from the beginning of time a weekly Saturday night town. We made it a monthly Saturday town and had a lot of success. And Dennis says that now Martha does some business with Tony Khan and AEW.
Are Owen's boys wrestlers?
No,
Okay.
or Brett's either one. I think Owen's son, I think it's some kind of odd sounding name. It might be OJE, if I'm
Yeah.
right.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's a Canadian name.
Yeah, but I think his mother probably wouldn't want him to touch wrestling with a 10-foot pole. With not only with Owen, but just the business and all the era that Owen was in an era, and certainly Owen wouldn't didn't die because of drugs or alcohol or even a car wreck. That was just terrible death. It's the just can you imagine falling off that uh, top of the roof in Kansas City, Pat? You were in Kansas City last week. Can you imagine that?
No, no, I can't. I can't. But to be frank with you, uh,
Pat Trammell has
fortunate
frozen
to have
up
had
a
more of it.
little bit. You froze up a minute now, Pat. You're back on.
No, I just said, we're fortunate in this business there hadn't been more of that.
Oh my God, you're not a kidding. Lucian says hi to me, and I'm sure he's saying hello to you too. And Richard Hood says, guys, as I've been called up from the WWE Hall of Fame, I'm a Memphis wrestling guy, and so I can tell you there's a big blunder if he's not in it. If somebody could research that, I would absolutely. He's a former WWE, even though it was just a month long, or not even that. He's a WWF champion. So I would pretty well bet Pat's bank account that Ivan Koloff is on. What?
Well, interestingly though, the Russian Bear Ivan Koloff was officially announced as a WWE Hall of Fame inductee in April 2025.
That was last year,
Yes.
and
You
that's
think?
way too late. He should have been one of the first ones, Pat.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I know.
What
I
a
know.
talent he was.
Yeah,
What a
yeah,
talent.
well,
Pat, are you ready to get into the meat and potatoes of this show? It's the USWA Smoky Mountain part that Pat always loves to co-credit Jim Cornette. And I can say that he was in charge of two events that he brought the Smoky Mountain USWA feud to Smoky Mountain. However, he had the only deal he had, involvement he had in USWA end is he sent me the talent I asked for. He had no creative impact. And I thought you brought that stuff before, and I got hot every time when you always co-credit me and Cornette. And certainly, I think Cornette is brilliant. I think sometimes Cornette even takes some credit, but what happened on the Memphis end? Because I guarantee you, you won't find anything on YouTube. If so, it was me beating up Mark Curtis on that television, my angle, and me harassing Les Thatcher, my interview, for sure. And certainly King of Kingsport said Ivan had heat with the old man. But I did not know that. I'd be interested to know why that is the case for sure. The Smoky Mountain USWA feud started as a one match deal and and I knew quickly, even before that match happened, June 11th, the night of the Legends Rock and Roll Express against PG-13, before they ever went to the ring, I'm thinking we can continue this. And on June the 11th was that match, and afterwards we did part one of the Smoky Mountain USWA show through on the start of September, and then we started phase two in October. At the last segment of the show tonight, we'll show you phase two. When that's great stuff, Pat, because the return of Eddie Marlin and the return of Jeff Jarrett, and that's coming up a little later on after the photos of the week segment. But any Any more setup? Any more thoughts on Smoky Mountain USWA now that you've been corrected?
Well, I was just curious as to when did it hit you? We can draw money here.
It hit me before it went to the ring. And I've told this second part of the story many times, but we get a new audience every week, so it's worth saying. I knew with just the excitement level, because I walked the halls and we did a meet and greet on that June show in Louisville, Kentucky, the first rock and roll PG match. And I could tell by talking to the fans and looking at the autograph session, even though PG and the rock and roll was a babyface match going in the people's eyes, it was a good sign that the PG-13 line had more people than the rock and roll line. And I was surprised at that because I figured a lot of the older audience would come back, and they did. But at the same time, I could just tell of every match we had, including Leduc and Lawler and all the fabulous ones against Rich and Gilbert, I could tell the people wanted that match. Then that made me go to Cornette, that was on the show that night, and ask if I could have the rock and roll on Mondays and Tuesdays. And he said yes. He said he doesn't run many Mondays and Tuesdays, so we did that. So I'm still thinking it would be maybe a 4 or 5 week program with PG and the rock and roll. So that tells you that first night, the Smoky Mountain USWA feud wasn't on my mind. So that first night that we had PG and the rock and roll, so that would have been the next week in Memphis, Robert Gibson came to me and said, Randy, we have Brian Hildebrand, the referee from Smoky Mountain, with us, and his dream is to always wrestle or work at the Mid-South Coliseum. He said, you don't have to pay. He said, would you put him on the opening match? And I said, just quick, no. And I thought Robert, who wasn't hot-headed at all, I thought he was fixing to slap me for saying no. But I said, here's the deal. That right there with them asking for Brian, knowing Brian was a Smoky Mountain referee, I got the idea right there. I thought, man, we can make this a promotion war. And even though the people in Memphis don't get Smoky Mountain, I can get it over if we do the right things. And so I then told Robert quickly, I said, let him referee the return match with you and the rock and roll, because I knew rock and roll needed to go over. They put PG over the first week in Louisville. I knew rock and roll had to get their win back, and I knew it needed to be a screw, and I knew from Louisville they were going to be the heels, and we actually did heat afterwards. So the Memphis audience had seen that and had seen that match that we showed on the television. So I'm thinking and telling Robert, I said, we'll have Mark referee the main event, and he'll screw, as the heel referee from Smoky Mountain, he'll screw PG. I'll get involved and we'll go from there. Then we brought Cornette back in. We brought Terry Gordy in. We brought Tracy Smothers in. We brought Buddy Landell in. We brought Brad Armstrong in. So it continued to grow every single week. But like most great ideas, it was a sperm of the moment. It was a spur of the moment. And Al says, great instincts. How long did it take Robert to calm down? Almost immediately. You know, he was just, it hurt his feelings. And most of the time with top guys, I don't say no. I should have just went right into the explanation without saying no, because that really, unless something stupid is said to me by somebody. Bo James never said something stupid to me, by the way. I'll give him credit uh, there. It's just because wrestling, the best ideas come spur of the moment. Cornette likes to say spur of the moment. Everybody knows I mean spur of the moment. And obviously, we had Pat Tanaka as a heel during that group, but at that point, he was a USWA guy. I brought in so many. We increased the baby faces as part of the feud, including eventually Rich and Gilbert and all that sort of thing. But it started that way, and basically I was booking it week to week for the first 2 weeks, and then phase one went probably 8 to 10 weeks, and I did get ahead there because I had to coordinate with Jim Cornette of what talent that we would bring in for that deal. We won't. So this was the most successful. Uh, it's absolutely and Brian Mark Curtis. Let's call him Mark Curtis here, just because more people that know that feud and know Smoky Mountain knows Mark Curtis more than Brian's real name, and both. And this makes me feel real good, Pat, because it was the happiest moment of Mark Curtis's career because he was in a main event program that drew, and he had speaking parts, and he had profile matches against me, and in the blow off to the Smoky Mountain feud, he was in the probably third match from the top. It was Jim Cornette and Mark Curtis against referee Frank Morrell, and yours truly, the owner, founder and president, the general manager of the time, and the booker of the USWA, Randy Hills. So it's good. Certainly, you're not going to be nice just to be nice, but if you can see you can make money off of it, if I thought it would kill the house, or if I thought he couldn't do a good job of doing it, it was complicated finishes, a lot of things you have to look at, Pat, that we don't talk about. The thing when you figure elaborate finish, the first thing in your mind, do you have talent in the match that can do the finish?
Right.
You know, and with PG and with the rock and roll, and with most main events that I use, most, not all, you have to do that. So any follow up before we get into video?
Just looking forward to jumping right in.
So what we're going to do now, 8 to 10 week program of phase one. And Pat, do you know how many times we had the Smoky Mountain talent live at TV5 on television? Guess.
I don't.
One.
Okay.
One town, because they ran on Saturdays. And leading up to the blow offs, I begged and did everything I could. And Cornette knew that the blow off was important, and he knew that I was booking him. And if it drew good, that he would get a wrestling payoff for that as well. We're going to start this thing a little bit before it happened. This showcases Lance and Dave, and it showcases how it is when you do strong heat. In 1995, when the wrestling public started getting smarter, but they still believed in the heels, the baby faces, the good and the bad, and they still believed that it was real for the most part, especially the people would pay their ticket to see it. Just I could fast forward, Pat, to the invasion, but just to see the build of it, I think it's important to show this 9 minutes 26-second video to see the setup of this thing. And it's just very interesting stuff on Talking Memphis Wrestling with Pat Trammell and Randy Hills. It's great to have Pat back on Talking Memphis Wrestling. And it looks like maybe we're having problems with that video. So Adam, I'll go ahead and start it.
Popped up so much recently since the Smoky Mountain USWA thing. I just do not understand what has happened to people.
I don't either. I mean, I was looking at the interview earlier. These guys, they all started here. We're talking about Tracy Smothers, Rick Morton, Robert Gibson,
Yes.
Rock and Roll Express. They all started right here, and now all of a sudden they're just different from what we know.
Tommy Rich, and this is the strangest thing. You know the kind of, I don't have to tell you the kind of trouble we've had with Tommy Rich. But outside the ring, I'm telling you, we've known Tommy since day one. Eddie Marlin was one of Tommy's best friends. Eddie was there when Tommy was born, as a matter of fact.
It's true.
And really and truly, this is kind of goofy to say, but outside the ring, Tommy Rich is a heck of a family man. Tommy's been married 15 years. He is a great father. He's got 3 lovely daughters. And I know the guy that way. I know exactly what he's like here. He's got these handout grabbing the money, comes in, takes $1,000 from these guys. They can't afford just to give money away like that. And he comes in and takes it and turns around, laughs and says no and walks out. And I just don't understand it, because the guy he is a very good family man, and he pulls off stuff like that. I just absolutely cannot understand. He's got to be thinking, or at least he should be thinking, his kids see him act like this on television. And they're sitting there saying, what, man, this is something that affects kids the rest of their life. I don't know. Anyhow, we got action. Claire, you got a good one coming up. We're going to see Pat.
If we can go ahead and pause that. So is that the best setup for something that you've ever in your entire life? And let me tell you, I just said recap the story, and you can't believe Tommy, who comes from a good family, you can't believe he would do that stuff out, like steal that money from PG. That's all I told him. Those 10 words, 20 words, whatever the case. Put it in his own words. If you have talent, I'm a firm believer. And that seems like just a conversation between 2 fans that was just upset. Pat, have you ever seen this before, and how good did you think that was?
Well, I was sitting here talking about it, and and I can't scroll it on my phone, but I keep it, and I pull it out and show it to my kids sometimes when in certain situations. I remember a similar angle with Tommy and Jerry, and I think Tommy's mother came in one time. But the thing that makes this unique, which makes wrestling unique, is, and this is Exhibit A: personal issues draw money.
Absolutely.
And that's what it is.
Absolutely.
They're talking about personal issues.
So do you give that setup a double thumbs up?
Absolutely. No question about that. And Dave and Lance sold it so well.
2 friends talking real life.
Yeah.
As far as the people concerned, it was good old wrestling. But listen to that. There was no signs, because it wasn't rehearsed. They knew the direction they were going. It was as real, Pat, as real could be, correct?
Absolutely.
Let's return to the video now on Talking Memphis Wrestling.
Pat Tanaka returning, I believe.
Oh, yes, sir. Looking forward to this one. Tag team action right in the ring. 1 fall, a 10-minute time limit. First introducing at a combined weight of 444 pounds from Hollywood, California, Gorgeous George III and his partner making a return to the USWA from the islands of Hawaii, Pat Tanaka. And in their corner, Uptown Karen. Their opponent today, a combined weight of 397 pounds.
Who's wife?
Downtown Bruno.
Okay.
PG-13. for this one, and guys, we've got us a heck of a bout tonight.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Corey, this is kind of a sleeper. We were talking about our opening match, Sid Vicious and primetime Brian Lee and all, but this son of a gun, Dave, could be a killer because this gorgeous George III can, in fact, wrestle. Pat Tanaka, here's another case. We're talking about changes. Pat Tanaka, we remember when he was just a young guy starting out here. He's still young, but evidently his association with people has changed. He's hanging out with Georgia Shore.
Well, that's true. Yeah, I remember Pat Tanaka when he was teamed with a young man named Paul Diamond. They later became AWA champions.
He legally changed his name to George III. Talking about living the gimmick.
All of a sudden we see Pat. He's got that different attitude. I don't know what's going on.
J.C. Ice, nice hip toss with gorgeous George III, followed by a drop kick. Right down, J.C. with his head bandaged up.
Pat, we have an audience member. I don't, what does this mean? I'm old. Hans says, oh man, these guys are toast. What does that mean?
I guess he thinks they're going to go over in a hurry.
PG-13. They never cease to amaze. Here's Tanaka in with Wolfie D. Back in Wolf up in the corner.
You know, PG-13 showing that all teams just got bad because
stroke.
So ago, didn't care much for PG-13, and all of a sudden they had a
PG-13 got Pat Tanaka, big wrestler to have. And so this is a good match, a competitive match, with the purpose, Pat, of building toward the invasion and the end.
Oh, yeah.
Jabbed him in the throat with both hands.
Tanaka, for you folks who do not remember Pat, is to say that he is well versed is.
Here's the thing that used to make me mad, and I stole this from the Rock and Roll Express's success. Rick Morton was always the seller. I wanted. And then let's watch.
In the ring, PG-13 is Mark.
Ricky was a seller every week, and I wanted Jamie to be the seller and make the hot tag to whoop.
We don't need any surprises from you. We need you out of here.
Follow you. I wouldn't follow.
We're not going to follow you.
Loud if money was free.
Do what you want there. We're not going to
Well,
follow
this,
you.
Just get out
Adam,
of here.
go full screen on the
I
video.
don't trust this guy one bit. Not what I see. Can we follow him out?
With cameras following him there. We'll see what he's doing. He's going out one of the exits here at the TV station, and the camera is kind of flaring on us when it hits the sunlight.
There we go, yeah.
But that's a garbage can. Who is that coming in? That's Robert Gibson there. I couldn't see who else was with him.
Coming in the back door.
Tracy Smothers.
Andre was in the dirt, drawing money. That'll look strong for this.
What is that?
Pat, watch how stiff this is, especially Tracy.
Pounding away with that flag that Smothers usually carries. And look at Tracy just battering J.C. Ice and Wolfie D.
This was after Rick Morton was fired from Smoky Mountain and the USWA. When I found him from my apartment on the same one.
Now, Curtis going after Bill Rush. Dave, I got to get out of here.
Now, Pat, pay attention. Lance leaves, okay?
Okay.
He walks out.
PG-13 badly outnumbered. Bill Rush being jumped up on by Mark Curtis. You know, the problem is there's not any help much around. E.D. Steele has already been smacked. Sid Vicious was hurt earlier. Lawler's not here. Brian Christopher's hurt. Here comes Stephen Dunn.
It sets up. Lawler's not there, Brian's not there, and Sid is hurt.
Tracy Smothers just nailed somebody else with that garbage can. I didn't see who it was. Somebody was trying to help out, but they're out on the floor now. And it continues as the Smoky Mountain Thugs. That's about all I can think of. That's the way they're all acting as just a bunch of thugs, egged on by Mark Curtis.
Yeah, that was great. Everybody in this angle was great.
Gibson right there. Smothers picking up the garbage can and smacks Wolfie D again. Meanwhile, Mark Curtis now with a garbage can, choking J.C. Ice. Robert Gibson comes after Wolfie D again. The referee Bill Rush is out. Crazy Smothers nailing.
This is a beating, Pat.
It is a beatdown.
Now watch this.
Smacks him into the table here. Hey, Brown, hey, this is what we do. Come on. This is Smoky Mountain Wrestling, you understand? Get your hands off of me or I'll throw you out of here and you'll never be back in here, too. Hey, I hear Mountain Wrestling was hot. USWA. I hear what you're saying, but this is a surefire way to prove it.
He didn't go back to the ring soon enough.
Outnumbering everybody. Garbage cans. Here comes Tommy Rich. Tommy Rich picks up a chair, and all of a sudden, Smoky Mountain leaves.
Earlier in the show.
All right, so this is Tommy turning babyface.
Tommy Rich finally got him out of here. Boy, let's take a break. We'll try to settle it down and be back with you in just a moment.
I don't have this video. I started later in the show, but earlier in the show, Lance and Dave say PG-13 has come up with a crazy idea, and we don't think it worked. We think they've lost their mind. We think it's crazy, but we want to bring PG-13 out there. And PG says, we're getting our butt kicked every week. We need a partner, and we wanted the person that's done more damage to us than anybody, and that's Tommy Rich. Said, so we need him to be our partner Monday night, and we're paying him $1,000. So here comes Tommy Rich out there, and they were been beat up, and they had bruises and cuts and all that sort of thing. And so Tommy said, you guys look like you've been in a bad car wreck, and he laughed like hell. And then they said, we know how scum of the earth you are, we need you to be our partner. And Pat said, Randy Hales called me and said, if I came to television, y'all had something to say to me and that you would give me $1,000. Give me the money now or this conversation's over. So they gave him $1,000, and some of them was in 100, some of them was in 20, some of them was 5, and I think there's a few coins that made up the $1,000 type of thing. Then Tommy, at that point, Pat, laughed. Thanks for the money. I don't want no part of that. Look at y'all in the mirror. So I don't want any part about that at all. So he walked out, and then they said they'd call somebody else. Then Lance did that deal in the next segment before the PG Tanaka George match, where he said Tommy's a family man. Then at the point when I said notice that Lance left. So that's hopefully putting a thing, where is he going? Where is he going? Who's he going to get? So basically, you're telling the story. He's going to talk some sense into Tommy because he's hoping Tommy's still there. And we go to the next video that's 2 minutes and 56 seconds long. And that's Smoky Mountain USWA number 12, I think. It's 256 on Talking Memphis Wrestling with Pat and Randy.
Summertime is here, and it's just crazy, and it is crazy, Dave.
I think I'm about to wilt in the heat, too. I tell you, it's been some kind of day.
Absolutely. I do not believe PG-13 could stood any more pounding if Tommy Rich had not come out here and jumped in to give them a hand. There's no way in the world those boys would have survived that. Terrible. Take a look at what happened.
Look at J.C. Ice. Robert Gibson comes after.
Talking about a friend in need and a friend indeed. Boy, I'm telling you, they had one right there at the moment.
They did, and I you know, a little while earlier, I would have thought, no, he would never be there to help him out, but there he was.
I want to get Tommy over here and just say this much, if I can get untangled here to get around, to say, Tommy, we appreciate it, partner. I'm going to tell you one thing. Whatever's gone before and all, I know the people have never known the real Tommy Rich the way that I have and Dave has and all. For you to come in here and do that was muchly appreciated.
Lance, I want to tell you thank you. First of all, you know, you've been around for a long time, and I've seen you pull a lot of strings with a lot of different guys. And today you pulled the right one with me. You know, it's like talking about mom and the babies. And, you know, I did a lot of rotten things. I was here for 10 months. And, you know, sometimes it was hard to sleep. And, you know, it's like my little girl come home not long ago, right before school got out, and she come home, she was crying, you know, and talking about, you know, the kids, talking about how mean their daddy was, and it really hurt our feelings, and it, you know, it's been kind of gigging at me, and just like I said, today you pulled the right string, and I want to thank you, and I want to make a promise to all the people, you're not going to see a brand new Tommy Rich, you're going to see a Tommy Rich starting today that starts changing, and I'm going to try to change more and more every day. You know, I can't make no promises. You know, sometimes it rolls up and down.
Oh, yes.
You know, for everybody out there, I just want to thank you, Lance, and tell Mom and the babies I love them. Thank you.
Okay, mate. Thanks a lot, Tommy Rich. And I got to tell you one thing. There's one thing they'll never take out of him, and that's that toughness. That son of a gun. He's been that way, and he can do it down the road. PG-13, you got yourself a partner and a half.
Outstanding.
What a day.
Oh, but that puts a whole different light on this whole thing. This whole thing with Smoky Mountain Wrestling and USWA, which has just really become, well, it's become personal. There's no doubt about it. And, you know, maybe that'll get things back the way we'd like to see them.
And I just look at guys like the Rock and Roll Express, Rick and Robert, and Tracy Smothers. I'm saying, the world is insane. Hey, we don't ever promise you anything dull here on USWA. We got to get out of here. We'll be looking for you next week. For Corey Macklin, Dave Brown, Lance Russell saying bye-bye, everybody.
The announcers on this program are selected and paid by parties other than this station, mainly the promoters of USWA Championship Wrestling.
Now, one thing I want to do some behind-the-scenes stuff, and if Adam, who doesn't have a camera, it looks like, but if he wants to weigh in on that, because he's the first person that brought it up, and then Bo did. Now, hour and a half TV show in Memphis, the live show. Then you would take an hour of that for the bicycle tape in Nashville, Louisville, Evansville. Now, the entire Open was just done once, and it was done live, and it went everywhere. However, because it was just an hour show and you never knew exactly how much time you would have for the close, and sometimes the Memphis show would be out of time, and you need 12 minutes on the tape time, so you would have to do a 12-minute second fall, and then you'd have to do a separate close. So we did a Memphis-only interview with Tommy Rich and PG-13. We did that. Memphis only saw it was in the black. Then at the end of the show, after the audience was let go and taken out there, then I sent Tommy out to the interview that would play on the tape. If you notice, Pat, Tommy never mentioned a night. He didn't say Monday, Tuesday, Memphis.
Right, yeah, good point.
Anything else. So it's for the entire tape. So does that make sense? My first question. And the second thing, go back to the angle, the invasion, how real it was, and obviously the fact that that Tommy pretty much credited Lance for pulling his screen. And to me, the entire thing with how the talent, you can give talent stuff and they can make it better than you gave them, just once it's done. I would say perform, but I hate that word. So your thoughts on that?
I mean, and you see this, the way you work that to get Tommy back involved, and the way Lance and Dave set that up, this is going somewhere bigger.
Double thumbs up.
Yes, sir. Double thumbs up. And it's look. This is a sophisticated angle to pull all this together. I mean, I don't give you probably the credit you're deserved a lot of times, but to pull something like this together, this is sophisticated booking right here.
And it drew.
And you got to deal with Cornette.
I didn't. I keep trying to. I had to call him and say, "Hey, I need the rock and roll, or I need Mark Curtis, or I need Jim Cornette, or whatever." He was easy to do with, just absolutely easy to do with. And Adam, you might could help me with this. As I was looking at my notes while that video was on, I've seen it a million times. Frank says, was that Dick Hawley? Sometimes Dick was in the studio during the wrestling show. Frank, I did. He's talking about the voiceover at the end. That absolutely was. The announcers are paid for parties other than this television station, namely the Jarrett Wrestling Company. Go ahead.
Okay, for you insiders, who is Dick Hawley?
Dick Hawley was a longtime host of the news, for the first weather guy. He did news and weather both. They finally in 1977 brought Dave Brown in to do wrestling and do weather. Dick Hawley was just a big old tall guy, and he was great. I mean, he was great. There's two Dicks, Dick Hawley and Mr. Magic. I think, Adam, you can help me on this. I think Dick Williams was the magician and Dick Hawley was the weather guy, and it was Dick Hawley. But it's all great stuff. And he was, as Ahmad says, he was a long-time host of the Wake Up Call in the morning show on Channel 5. And Dick Condra was the engineer, as Pat has something to say.
I was just waving at my good friend Ahmad.
All right, Ahmad. I love Ahmad. That is for sure. Picture segment of the show is coming up after we take a little break, reset the show, and we have pictures of the week and then part 2 of the video. And we'll end it up with some great videos. So that's a tease for about probably 23 minutes from now, hopefully. So right now we're going to reset the show and we'll be back on Talking Memphis Wrestling on the last day of March.
You'll see America's favorite sport on WHBQ television.
All right, good stuff. And you ready for the pictures of the week? We'll go through this pretty quickly, but still we'll explain it. Pat, I am going to go off with the first time and Inside Baseball. Jerry Lawler basically handled the programs, and the first time I would see the program was be on Monday. I would book the cards and send to the printers the cards, but the layout of the program he always did, and I was in shock when I got to the Coliseum and I saw these programs this night. And Adam, if you would go to it's 53 77. It's after the Dennis Condrey picture, 5377. If you could go ahead and play this. Pat Trammell, look at your monitor because this is the first time and only time in the history of the world Lawler surprised me. Good old dark-haired Randy Hill.
Look at that. Man, that's Elvis hair you got there. Boy, I'd give a lot for that.
Thank you very much. What do you think about the first and only time I was ever on the program, but that getting beat up by the Smoky Mountain thugs and almost having to go to the hospital and did go to the first aid room, got me over with the people. Got me over because the sympathy, and that program showed good. Absolutely. Talking Memphis Wrestling is on the air. Next picture right now, but first we'll say Al Pollard says had to come in late tonight. I've been cutting brush in Bonanza, Arkansas. Now that the way west coast of the state, glad to get here to listen and watch. So the very next picture from the RH picture is 5415. Any idea who's standing beside Andre the Giant?
Is that Hillbilly Jim?
No, that's Uncle Elmer.
Uncle Elmer. That's right.
Cowboy Stan Frazier.
That's right. I recognized him. I just couldn't call his name.
Next picture. Online there is a team that drew a lot of money, and they were the cause of the very first Tupelo concession stand brawl in 1979. This is Larry Latham, the future Moon Dog Spot, manager Danny Davis, and Wayne Ferris, the future Honky Tonk Man, the Blonde Bombers. Next picture up. At 5417.
That is a young Jackie Fargo right there. Wow. You're right, Al. Stan was a big dude. Yeah, man. What do you have any idea what year that was, Randy?
I would say mid 50s, if not earlier.
50s, yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Next picture up on Talking Memphis Wrestling. This is a miscellaneous pictures of a bunch of Fargo stuff, including Don Fargo probably up there, George Goulas, I see. That's Randy Fargo and Jackie Fargo, Roughhouse and Jackie Fargo. What a great picture, including that bloody picture bottom left of Phil Hickerson and Jackie Fargo, and they drew a ton of money. Pat.
Who is that in the middle with Fargo?
His real life nephew, Randy Fargo.
Okay.
He's been around for a lot of years, but just a very interesting picture, and I like the bloody one the best.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Next picture up on Talking Memphis Wrestling now. And this is an announcement that I saw, and I think Paul Neighbors posted this. This is going to be presented by Kayfabe Cave, and it's going to be in Pulaski, Tennessee. It's going to be in Pulaski at 110 South 1st Street, Saturday, July the 18th, 2026, to celebrate the legendary Frank Morrell, longtime referee, and before that, what a career as a wrestler. He's from East Tennessee. Frank Morrell's 86th birthday celebration will be in Pulaski, Tennessee, and that will happen on Saturday, July the 18th. Frank, of course, was the Mighty Yankee. He was the Spoiler. He was the French Angel. He was Lucifer. He was all kinds of people. But Frank Morrell, that's a rare picture, Mr. Trammell, that you see Frank Morrell. And I never saw, by the time I met Frank in the 80s, he didn't have no hair. And never.
Yeah.
This is a hell of a picture.
Frank was the Mighty Yankee heel, obviously, in Birmingham when I was younger.
No doubt about it. Any comment there on that event in
Yeah,
Pulaski, Tennessee, near Dixon, Tennessee?
yeah. I know. I just think that's great, and I tell you what, let's keep that on our calendar. I might run up there. One thing I'll say, we don't have enough time with our heroes and guys who touch the ring with Fargo and with the Greens and with Lynn Rossi and with Bearcat and with everybody. So if you're in the area, go shake their hand and thank them.
And let me give advice to Pat and everybody else, because Pat uh, and fans, Frank has been out of the business since probably 95 or 96. It's changed. So my advice is not to talk smart. Don't say, hey, you were a great heel. You were a great baby face. You so good. Don't talk any inside. And that advice to most old timers, unless they're still involved now. The first time Eddie Marlin heard one of my podcasts, he was about to kick me out of his house. He really was. I had to show him. I said, everybody does it. I had to play him the podcast of Jarrett's podcast with Sean Reedy to get Eddie not to throw me out the house, to show him that's just the way the business was. And back to the Frank picture to talk about it. Bo says, if we could put Bo's comment on there, he says, RH, I think the picture of Frank is from Kingsport. It's where Frank was born, I think, from about 1969 or 1970. So thanks for adding to that information. And it's just a great picture. Next picture, and we'll continue to go through this. I think this is in 1976. This is the bicentennial baby, Big Bad John. Did you ever see the bicentennial baby as the bicentennial baby, or did you just see him as plain old Big Bad Hill John?
I just saw Big Bad John, but I understand the Bicentennial Baby was over.
That was a character baby face, and he was over, and that's a great picture. Next picture, one of the greatest tag teams of all times, Tojo Yamamoto and a very young Jerry Jarrett. Next picture is 5441. This is Nick Goulas, Ronnie P. Gossett, and Roy Wells. Just great stuff there. And this next picture, Pat, I'm going to let you guess. 5442. 5442.
That is Lynn Rossi, and that's not Joey, I don't think.
It is Joey.
It is Joey. Okay. All right.
Joey Rossi and Lynn Rossi give you a nickel, give you $100. You got it right.
All right.
Now, I showed you the first time I was on a program. I'm going to show you, well, not the next picture. The next picture is something else. 5445. Who's with Andre the Giant in this picture? And it's labeled so you can tell.
Cowboy Frankie Lane.
Do you remember seeing Frankie Lane in your part of the territory?
Yeah, Frankie. Frankie, he would come through. He did a lot of work in Mobile.
A lot of work in Mobile, Alabama. The next picture, just a random picture of Jerry Jarrett.
And a young RH.
This is before RH was even a ring announcer. My job was to go to the ring and get the wrestler's jacket and take it back to the dressing room. That I couldn't go in. I had to knock on the babyface door, and because the Hills usually didn't have jackets. And I hated the Hills anyway, so I didn't give a shit if I got their jackets. Police usually did, but I would go to the ring, and that was before my cosmetic eye surgery. Can you see the crossed eyes, the lazy eyes on RH right there?
Yeah, a little bit.
It was bad. So it ended up having surgery to fix that because I didn't know who I was going to have a career in television. So did that. So talking a lot of.
Now, what year was that, Randy, do you think?
I would guess this would have been between 73 and 75, probably closer to late 73. It's a great thing. And that picture right there is at the Jonesboro. It's not there, but Adam, I've taken you by the newer Seven Arts Auditorium that turned into the American Legion Arena. But before that, an old crappy building that you see right there, that is Jonesboro. By the way, Todd's asking Jarrett's nickname during the mass deal, and you're exactly right. That was the Hawaiian Flash. As we look at the next picture, and as we put that up there, and the very next picture from that, Mr. Trammell, who is this?
Damn, I don't know, Randy.
You know who it is, and I had to look at the label. You've seen them a million times.
I mean, they look familiar, but I can't. Oh, gosh. Oh, man. Somebody want to help me here?
I'll help you. It's Don and Al Green, the Heavenly Bodies.
Okay, the original Heavenly Bodies.
And Adam says the picture looks enhanced. This IA or AI or whatever like that, but it's
now what year would that be taken?
I would guess because I think the Heavenly Bodies was in the 60s,
and they were in New York, right?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
But you could be right. It could be right. The next picture is a card from. Nope, it's not. I'm sorry, I messed up on that. This is who, Pat?
Lou Thez, isn't it?
6 times world heavyweight champion Lou Thez. Next picture on Talking Memphis Wrestling. Another collage of the fabulous Jackie Fargo, and this is pretty similar to the one we saw before. Another great look at, and I think you can tell.
Who is he with on the far right?
At the bottom?
Yeah.
Don Green.
Okay, that's what I thought. Next
picture on Talking Memphis Wrestling is, and I think this is Dennis Condrey, who's the subject of last week's show. As rest in peace, Dennis Condrey, who we lost last week. This is Dennis Condrey and Jackie Fargo in just a great picture.
Is that in Jonesboro, Randy?
No, that I don't know for sure where that is. I have no idea.
Well, the reason I ask that is if you look to the far right there behind the lady in the black hair, it's got those panels, which I thought I saw in the picture with you.
No, I'm pretty sure that is not Jonesboro.
Okay.
And because on one side bleachers, on the other side bleachers, on the two other sides was concession stands. So
okay,
that's what happened. Next picture on Talking Memphis Wrestling, Mr. Dunn. A big announcement: Wrestling News WWE Hall of Famer Handsome Jimmy Valiant will wrestle his final match at 83 years old on April the 25th at Boogie's Last Dance, and I don't think there's any way that's a good idea, Pat.
No, I don't either, but as you know and Bo said, I think he wrestles every Sunday, training guys. So where's it at? And who's he wrestling?
That hadn't been released.
Okay.
Hadn't been released. Next picture on Talking Memphis Wrestling, and we took a look at the Hall of Fame class coming up in April this year. Next picture on Talking Memphis Wrestling at this point, and this is the earliest card I ever Arkansas, of Jonesboro, Arkansas, at the American Legion Arena in Jonesboro. This is 63 or 64. 63 or 64. The main event is Tojo Yamamoto against Paul Morton's brother, Mac York.
Okay.
Maurice LaPonte, who I've never heard of, against Big John Holly, who I never heard of. And I heard of these two gentlemen, Billy Wicks, who had that great feud with Sputnik Monroe in the late 50s, against Harb Lawson. So that's the card in Jonesboro, Arkansas. Let's see if we have any other pictures coming up. And Adam, if you just go to the next one, if there is a next one on Talking Memphis Wrestling. And apparently there is no next one on Talking Memphis Wrestling. Anything that really stands out on you about the picture section today?
As you know, I love the picture section, and I love them all going through. I love to see some of those old cards like that. And you know, it's interesting to me. They ran Jonesboro with what, 6 guys?
Yeah, back then, for sure. I bet a Memphis card just had 8. And most matches were 2 out of 3 fall matches back in the time.
One of the matches I ran at Talladega had 4 guys.
Was that a mistake? No shows?
No, they did 2 singles and then a tag team.
Right.
Yeah.
So 4 guys and a referee. Was there a manager?
No.
So yeah, that's how you make your money, and for sure. And Lucian says Paul Morton, Bald Eagle. He was called as a referee in Paducah, also wrestling back in the early 70s. Paul Morton was a classic guy.
So he wrestled before he was a referee?
Well, he said he did. I don't have any proof of that. And Paul tended to inflate stories a little bit. Part of the storytelling, he was a classic guy, nicest guy. Drove a green LTD back in the day.
Don't ruin a good story with the facts.
Right. You're exactly right of this. The final part of Talking Memphis Wrestling will be part 2, starting in April, of the Smoky Mountain USWA Feud. Part 2 didn't draw because it was toward the end of the year. The Monday Night War on television was up and going, but we did some classic stuff. But we're going to take a break right now, whatever Adam wants to play, and we'll return with our final segment of Talking Memphis Wrestling with Pat and Randy and all you nice folks. It's produced by Adam Dunn. We'll be back.
Talking Memphis Wrestling with Randy Hales is now streaming live on Fun Media at fun927.com, and is always on Facebook, YouTube, X, Twitch, and at tv5wrestling.com.
Talking Memphis Wrestling with Randy Hales and special guests.
This is an entire USWA show from October that we do not have time to show. So Adam, we're going to try some, and I meant to, and I told you that I wanted to run over the complicated videos, and by God, I just forgot to run over it. So we're going to start this video, and we're going to run through because I pretty much know what's happening. So hopefully you'll be able to fast forward through some of the stuff, and we can see how that goes. And this first video, folks, when I tell you the time, Pat, don't panic, and Adam, don't panic. The video is 44 minutes and 54 seconds. The second video, 44:40. But the 44:54 is what I want, and then we'll give instructions, and Adam will try to fast forward to the stuff. This is part 2 of the USWA war. Brian Armstrong around. Bob Armstrong was around, and he was giving me all kinds of problems. He had been bullying me and beating me and crazy stuff with me, and we're going to just try to run through the highlights of this, and go ahead and start, because again, we talk about setup, and here we go, Pat. We're going to just start and kind of ride from the seat of our pants, and
Hello again, everybody. Lance Russell with Corey Macklin right alongside, ready to go with another big USWA Championship Wrestling. It's good to be back. I want to say right here, Dave is not going to be with us today. He will be back next week. We send our condolences out to Margaret Brown, who lost her father in there, and you know we're thinking about you, and we'll be looking for you back here next week. Corey, I go out of town for 2 weeks. Son of a gun, what in the world have you let happen?
Oh, boy, these Smoky Mountain Thugs and Bob Armstrong around. You saw just a moment ago what happened with Randy in there.
Yeah.
Absolutely awful situation with these guys. But let me tell you, today, what a day of wrestling. Too Sexy Brian Christopher going to be right here with us today. We'll be seeing Brian in action. Also, PG-13, JC and Wolfie right here in action today. We'll be
I like that desk, Pat.
Today.
Yeah.
All right, I'll tell you one thing. The action just never slows down. We've got it all.
Corey's good with Corey's good with Lance.
yes.
We just showed
I
a little
think
bit
you
of what
lived in
happened
St.
out
Louis
here
during that
slapping
time period.
Randy Hales like that, Bob. We're going to be showing a little
Watch
bit
how
more.
good Bob
I have
is
known
in
you
Hales.
a long time,
Great.
partner, and I want to
Great.
tell you, I don't understand the motivation for what you're doing and causing all the trouble here. Hey, we've been in this wrestling business a long time together.
Well, let me tell you this. You know, I'm a sensible, reasonable man. I just want to stop the war. There's been too much war and
Amen.
problems.
It's got to be stopped.
So exactly what I did had a motive. You understand? Now, I've come here this week to apologize for that and say I've got 4 conditions, and we'll end this war between Smoky Mountain and USWA. I'll call off my war dogs. We'll end it if you'll just go for these 4 conditions. Now, let me read them to you right now. The first of all I want done is I want the fine lifted off my son, Jesse James Brian Armstrong. That's the largest fine ever on any human being. I think that's unreasonable.
And from what I've seen, well deserved, but we're not going to argue about that.
Okay, let's don't argue. I'm just out here to state facts. Number 2. Now, Brian Christopher last week on this TV put his hands on me, an official from Smoky Mountain Wrestling, a reputable company. He put his hands on me for no reason. I think that young man should be suspended indefinitely. That's condition number 2.
Well, now, wait a minute, Bob. You get into things like that, talking about suspending somebody indefinitely, you're going to end up with an argument with that kind of a situation.
Well, I'm just stating the facts as I see them, and I usually see them right. That's why I'm
Oh,
commissioner
so
of
good.
Smoky Mountain Wrestling.
so good.
Now, number 3 is Dave Brown, I see, had enough sense not to show up this week, but Mr. Corey back here made a lot of harsh comments about me and my family. I think he should apologize today. I'll accept his apology as an apology from Dave Brown and Mr. Corey himself. That's condition number 3.
I'm not.
Now, the last condition I have is that Randy Hales, the coward of all times, come out here, look me eye to eye like a man should be if he was half a man. As a matter of fact, he is half a man. And tell me that he is a coward and that he quits this company, never to darken the door again, and get somebody in USWA that can operate this outfit like it ought to be done. Now, that's 4 conditions that I don't consider unreasonable. If you'll follow those 4 conditions.
Listen, Bob, how would you like it if somebody came up and said, you resign, you get out of here, Bob Armstrong? That's the kind of thing you're trying to come over here and tell Randy Hales he's going to have to admit all this stuff and resign and walk away from it. I don't know where you get coming off with that. Now, that is not unreasonable, Bob.
You know, I'm not a greedy man. Just grant me these 4 conditions. The war is over. Nobody else will get hurt. And we'll go on from there, and we'll remain friends, Lance.
No question
That's all I've
about
got
it.
to say. Thank you.
No question. Well, yeah, he walked off after making 4 conditions out there that are totally unreasonable. We're going to take a break. We'll be back. We got lots of it in the ring in a minute.
So Adam, see if you can fast forward in anything relating to that as here we go.
This has got to come to an end. It's just absolutely too much. You heard the way Bob described it. We thought maybe it'd be better if you took a look with your own eyes and see what happened here. I haven't seen this, so I want to see what happened last week. Here it is.
Bullet Bob Armstrong out here, commissioner of Smoky Mountain Wrestling.
The blonde-headed guy is Brandon Baxter.
You know, listen, a few weeks ago you made a big mistake. You messed in my business. Now you've made an unforgivable mistake. You've messed with my son, the blood of my loins, who sprang to be a champion. You're champion. You've told lies about him this whole show. You've levied the biggest fine ever fined a person in the USWA. That's unfair. My son is not a thug. When you mess with my business, I turned him loose over here, and what's he done? He's beat everybody in this organization. He's a champion. And while you people just sat on your puppy little duffs, he was over there dodging bullets and missiles from Saddam Hussein, fighting for his country. He's a hero. You ought to honor and respect him. He's the man.
I honor and respect anybody that's been in war, but that's not the situation now. You're the one acting like a lunatic. Let me tell you something. He acted like a thug. He attacked a lady, and we want to tolerate it. You run a wrestling business, too. I don't know how you do it, but you do. We don't tolerate that kind of stuff, and you're not going to intimidate us. Let me tell you something, Bob. You're just as sick as he is, and I'm telling you, he will pay that fine or he won't work for this company. You're not going to mess with this show like you did before. I'll have you physically removed out of here.
Well, now, who have you got big enough to handle that job? Who have you got big enough? It ain't going to be you, rail man. Who's going to throw me out?
Rail man.
Take the gear. Nobody's going to throw me out of this show. I'm here to take care of my son. You messed with the wrong boy.
I'll tell you what, you piece of trash. Where's your stinking son now, huh? Where's your son? Where's your son? You calling him a hero? Your son ain't no hero. What your son is a piece of trash. And you're trash, too.
Now you're making a mistake. Now you mess with my son. Nobody does that, mister. I don't care who you are.
That's because your son's a lowlife, and if you're going to stand out here and call him a hero, then you're a lowlife too. Your whole family is nothing but trash.
Come on. Look out. Hey, come on. Oh, Brian's got Bullet Bob Armstrong, and here comes Jesse James Armstrong from behind. Come on.
Jesse James Armstrong nailed Brian Christopher from behind. Brian punched him over his back. Watch out, Bullet Bob Armstrong right behind you. He grabbed Brian by the throat.
Gotta get some help by him for Brian. Let's get this thing started.
Come on. You and Baxter, get out of here. Started the whole
What a
thing.
fight, Pat.
Look out, he's got a chair.
Oh, boy. Look out.
Oh.
Armstrong from behind nails Christopher with that metal chair. Now the Armstrong double team Brian Christopher. Baxter's jumping on Randy Hales.
Time he wasn't in all the town, and I was establishing stuff without him. He wasn't involved in it. It was done on purpose.
Both of them down in the middle of the ring right now, and Armstrong. This upsets me. I mean, Armstrong knows.
Look at that. Baxter just tossed a chain in there to Jesse James Armstrong. Well, Bullet Bob Armstrong has the attention of referee Bill Rice. Armstrong nails Gilbert too. Here comes Christopher. Brian Christopher in, and Baxter jumps on his back.
Well, now that's going to be a disqualification on Doug because the referee didn't see the chain. He just saw Brian Christopher jumping in there. Here comes Miss Texas after Brandon Baxter.
Oh, look at Miss Texas.
She's got Baxter.
Going off the Baxter. Bob Armstrong's in there struggling with a chair from Christopher. Miss Texas down on the floor to Baxter.
Look out, Heavenly Bodies have jumped in there. We got all kinds of people jumping in. That's Steve Armstrong, isn't it?
Steve Armstrong, yeah.
The Armstrong family seems to be here in force today. Bullet Bob in there, Steve Armstrong. He hit Brian Christopher with a pile driver.
Oh, boy. Armstrong leading the younger Armstrongs on here today. Steve and Jesse James, led by their father, Bob Armstrong.
Axel Rotten, the Heavenly Bodies, and who is that Stephen Dunn over there, have blocked the door from where help might be coming.
Come on.
Here comes PG-13
trying to come through, and they're waiting for him there.
and the Spellbinder, but they can't get through.
Come on, they got Miss Texas.
Baxter working on Miss Texas again. Being held by Steve Armstrong. Bob Armstrong just chopped Brian Christopher.
Here comes Billy Jack Haynes. We don't need him here.
No, we sure don't need Billy Jack Haynes.
Oh, here's some sanity.
That we got here. He steps into the ring, shakes hands with Steve Armstrong. Whoa! He short clotheslines him. Shakes hands with Jesse James Armstrong. Puts him down to the mat. Billy Jack Haynes. Cleaning out the Armstrong. Look at Baxter. Baxter's gone into shock over here. Look at the finger pointing. The finger pointing by the Armstrong.
Hey, you see that?
Man, I got to tell you, a little different than the story that we heard from Bob in there. Billy Jack, I was stunned at that. We're going to take time out. Be back in just a moment.
All right, as we'll see where that packs up, and Adam, if you can just see if you can run through this and see what we can find here regarding the Smoky Mountain USWA feud, as we're in the last segment of today's show on Talking Memphis Wrestling, as we keep it going and try to pick up, and we can.
The Armstrongs that are around here. They're hanging around here, Brian.
How'd you like that super kick there, Corey?
Looked real good.
Well, Corey, it's good to see you today. It's good to see Lance is back.
Al, I agree with you 100%.
Lance, I don't know if you were watching last week or if you got to see everything, but I know that you heard, and I know you were here and saw, that we've had another invasion by the Smoky Mountain group. All the wrestlers there in Smoky Mountain, once before, they came in here to the USWA, and they tried to run over everybody and take over this corporation. Well,
hey, now, Bob, wait a minute. Now, you've been out here already. We're not going to put up with this today. We've got a program to go on, and we're interviewing Brian right now.
I just wanted to talk to Brian.
No, this is my interview time.
I just have one thing to say to you.
Come on, Bob. What?
You are my second condition. Now, have you been fined? Has Randy Hales put a fine on you?
He's not going to fine me. I hadn't been fined, and I'm not going to be fined. But this right here is my interview time.
Well, has he said anything to you about being suspended for laying your hands on me?
Come on, Bob.
Bob is so good at
That was my
this.
second
Oh,
condition
so
I only
good.
had for. I want to know if something's being done about it.
I've not been fined, and I'm not going to be suspended. But I'll tell you what, I laid my hands on you last week, and
He
I'm
really
not
was,
Hey,
Al.
no violence here now, Brian. Come on.
And he's
Armstrong,
young,
can you take
yeah.
it out of here, please, Bob? Come on. Jesse.
All I want is my conditions met. I've got 4, and that's all I need. And he can do it if he wants to.
Oh, look out. Hey, come on. Duck. Well, that'll even things up in here, but we don't need any trouble out here. Not today. Now, come on, Bob. Would you take your guy? Here comes Steve Armstrong out here. These guys, let me tell you, Jesse James.
They don't like it when it's 3-on-2, do they? They don't like it too much because it's 3-on-2. Where's their guy?
Well, here's 3-on-3 now. Here's Billy Jack Haynes. Oh, yeah. Bob Armstrong saw Billy Jack, and he took off. Christopher, Gilbert, and Haynes go after Jesse and Steve Armstrong into the ring. Billy Jack came out to even things up in there. Gilbert and Christopher slapped Jesse James and Steve Armstrong there together.
Bob is on the outside of the ring
He's
to
not
the
getting
side. And he is in there hollering at Billy Jack Haynes as Brian comes on right on Jesse. Looks like they're handling things in good fashion. Jesse on the outside. Steve gone. Bob is not planning on coming in the ring, Billy Jack. Build on Steve Armstrong. Look at the pairing with Gilbert and Brian working together, and here is Bob Armstrong with his 2 boys, Steve and Jesse James, out here on the side.
I've never seen anything so unfair in my life. They came out here just for an argument. Who came out? Want to start a fight? Don't forget, 4 conditions. That's all we got is 4 conditions.
4 conditions. Oh. Brian Christopher looking at Bob Armstrong, and now okay, guys, you made the point. Bob heads to the ring to get away from the trio. They're not going to let him get away, though, Corey. Nope, they sure are. They've got him cornered in there. Looks like it's Christopher Haynes. Uh-oh. Tracy Smothers in with that flag stick, starts swinging it. Here come the Armstrong boys back. This is more to their liking. 4 on 3. It's Tracy with that flag stick hammering away. Puts Doug Gilbert down and now pounds on him with that stick. As Steve and Jesse James are working on Christopher and Billy Jack Haynes. Tracy Smothers goes over with a flag stick on Billy Jack.
You know, you can't get rid of these guys, Lance. They multiply. Here comes Tracy Smothers in here, along with all of the Armstrongs. They just cannot go when things evened up in there. It was 3 on 3. And Smothers comes from the back with a pole. Got that flagpole in there. Billy Jack Haynes with it.
We're not going to stay here anymore. We're going to take a break. Please do. Take a break, and we'll be back here in just a minute.
All right, Adam, kind of fast forward till you see Bob and me at the desk. Flying by the seat of our points. Let's see what this is.
Yeah, you really did. You're really smart, Tracy.
These guys,
you'll get yours. Don't worry. It always happens.
aren't these guys great? Now, I've been through hell and high water out here, and I've been at this matches, I think, long enough, Lance. It's about time that I got the man of the hour, Mr. Randy Hales, out here to fill my 4th and last condition. And that is to apologize to me, admit that he is a coward, and take his butt out of this organization, let somebody run it that knows how. Now, if you've got guts enough, Randy Hales, somebody, the referee, get him out here right now. I don't want to wait any longer. I've only asked for 4 conditions. This is the last one. Let's get it done. Let's get it over with. Let's have him stand here and say, I am a coward, Mr. Armstrong. I will take a hike.
Boy, Bob, where is your mind? What's a man going to do? He's not going to come out here and agree to any of that sort of stuff. I wouldn't if I were Randy is no wrestler or anything else, but I tell you what, he's a man of his conviction and his words. And you come out here and saying all of the things that you're talking about.
What choice has he got? He's either got that or be hurt very badly. It's almost
what we need to do is end this entire war, Randy.
Absolutely the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life. I've never heard, Bob, somebody come out and give us conditions. The answer to all
Watch this, Pat.
The answer to all 4 of your conditions is no. We're not doing any of them.
There's the answer right there.
Let me tell you, I'm not accepting that answer. I'm going to give you another chance. Think about this, Randy Hale. Think about what could happen to you. All you've got to do is say, yes, Bob, I am a coward. I do quit the company and get out of here. You'll save yourself a lot of trouble and a lot of pain. Let me tell you,
Bob,
think about it.
Around here a long time.
Right.
I've
He's
had
great.
wrestlers
So
since
pro.
I got started in wrestling trying to intimidate me, people trying to intimidate me. I know you could beat my brains out. I know that. But I have a responsibility to this TV station, and I'm not going to give in to you, Bob. The answer is no. Now get out of here.
You're trying to get a physical confrontation. He's not a
If
wrestler, Bob.
You know, if he was half a man, I would slap him. But, you know, he's so skinny he has to dance in the shower to get wet. There's a lot.
You're coming out here, and son, I'm telling you to get out of here. I'd rather die than to say that I'm a coward. I'm not going to do it, Bob.
You know, maybe we could just arrange that, Randy.
Come on now, Bob. Don't start that.
Get your hands off of me.
Hey, man, don't worry about that.
Get your hands off of me, damn it.
Get off of me, Bob. Will you let go of me?
You're going to do it now, Randy, huh?
Boy, you're really making a fine point. Whoa, Eddie Marlin.
There we go.
I'll guarantee you one thing. You sure
Best
showed up
interview
at the
of
right
Eddie's
time here
career.
today. That's ridiculous stuff like that with Bob Armstrong.
You're right, Lance. It's ridiculous. You know, Lance, I hadn't been here in a long time, but some of the fans know, of course you know, February the 24th, probably one of the worst days in my life. I had to go down to Lexington, Tennessee, and go to Eddie Gilbert's funeral.
Yeah.
When I got home, my life really turned around. My wife had congestive heart failure, and I like to lost her.
Yeah, I know. It was touch and go, Eddie.
And we got that straightened out with a lot of prayers, a lot of well wishes, and she's doing okay now. There's one thing that I'll never forget. You know, I've been knowing Randy Hale since he was 10 years old. Randy Hale came to me and says, Eddie, be with Norma. I'll do whatever I had to do, work night and day. And he did. Not only did he work night and day, go to all the towns, but he was at the hospital with me at night, sitting up with my wife. Now, like I say, she finally got all right. I've been watching every week. I watch the tapes. I talk to Randy every day. Some of the things that's happened, I said, Randy, I got to come back. He said, Eddie, you can't let everybody upset you and make you nervous. It's going to happen to me. They had to deal with the Smoky Mountain, and I think he handled it well.
Yep.
He had to deal with Brandon Baxter, and I know he handled it well because I've seen the tapes. Now, that's the reason I hadn't been here. This is the reason I'm here. Now, Randy Hale, like I said, he worked night and day, and he came to the hospital. He set up with me. Randy Hale is like a son to me. Been knowing him since he was 10. He handled the Smoky Mountain. He handled Brandon Baxter. But when Bob Armstrong came out on this TV last week, and slapped Randy Hale, there's no way in the world I could sit home and wait and find out what he was going to do this week. So I got up this morning and I drove the 200 miles and I'm here, and I wouldn't take nothing from being here. Now, Bob Armstrong, Randy Hale is not going to quit. He's not going to say he's a coward. He's not going to give in to the Smoky Mountain thugs that you're part of. You may be the big shot there, Bob Armstrong, bullet Bob Armstrong, but here you're just a little pea in the pod. You will not intimidate Randy Hale, and you certainly won't intimidate me. Now, you want a war? You say you're going to have a war with the USWA. You're not going to fight this man. You're not going to fight Lance, Corey, or Dave, or Randy Hales. You will fight Eddie Marlin. Now, if you got the guts and you want to fight Eddie Marlin, get out here right now, and we'll see what kind of bullet you are. Other than that, you're not going to bother the crew at this TV station at the Coliseums. Now, you say you're going to be in the corner so you can make sure your boys have a fair deal. Well, let me tell you something, Bullet Bob. Every ring that you sit in the corner of, you will be looking to me eye to eye, because I will be in the other corner. I'm going to be back on the road as long as Bullet Bob is in the area. And that's all I got to say. Just when I see Bullet Bob, he better keep his eyes open.
Eddie Marlin.
Let's come out of that.
Were we glad you showed up today, Eddie. Tell you one thing, Bob. You better think twice before you mess with that guy. That old guy, he's not wrestling at all of this. Well, take another thought. We're going to take time out. Be back in a moment.
Al says, and you said too, Pat, earlier you were talking about invasions. Al Pollard says the blueprint on how two territories go against each other. I thought I thought that was obviously. I thought the Eddie Marlin deal gave me. I've watched it time after time after time, time after time after time. Is that not what pro wrestling is, Pat?
I tell you, I'm not. I guess I've seen it, but I hadn't seen the whole thing. Maybe that was a work of art, and it was real. I mean, you know that. You know that. I mean, and I think most of us knows how close you and Eddie were. You were with him in the last months of his life and took care of him. But and you were like a son to him, as he said there. But my gosh, man, that was great. That was great.
It gave me chills watching that again. Now, the final video we're going to show tonight. The time listed on this video is 44:40. And Adam, if you could fast forward to the fast forward in the clip they show from a house show, Crenshaw, Mississippi, where Brian Armstrong attacks Eddie Marlin. See if you can cue that up. 44:40.
1, 2. This could be it. A count of 3.
This is the start of the TV show that week. This is Ahmed winning the Unified Heavyweight Championship. So if we can just now, this is from Nashville. Eddie Marlin getting attacked in Nashville.
So where all y'all run, Randy?
In Nashville?
No. In this feud.
Terrible situation when you see all of
We went to every town.
Okay.
Memphis, Louisville, Evansville, Nashville.
Being in that ring with Bob Armstrong, and you saw what happened when he started doing it. But that wasn't the end of it, Dave.
No, not at all. As a matter of fact, just happened last night down in Mississippi.
Crenshaw.
This is another
where it
video.
took place, and they were down there for the matches, and Eddie Marlin ended up getting involved in one with who else but another Armstrong, only this time Jesse James Armstrong. Let's take a look and see what happened there.
Still complaining. He's telling Rush about that. So Eddie Marlin stepped up in there. Armstrong said, hey, if you want your cane. Oh, now come on, Armstrong. Eddie's hurt in there and walking around with a cane tonight here in Crenshaw. And Armstrong's making fun of him. That's not pretty at all, Jesse James Armstrong, I tell you. Look at Armstrong. This guy, I tell you this. Shell's like, hi, come on, Jesse.
Pat, everything okay?
Yeah.
Come on. What in the world is Armstrong doing? Nails referee Bill Rush. Nailed Eddie Marlin out there. He nailed Eddie with that cane, let me tell you. Picks it. Oh, my goodness.
Eddie could sell, Pat.
Got Eddie cut open.
Yep.
Eddie Marlin busted wide open in there by Jesse James Armstrong. Come on. That kind of stuff. Absolutely ridiculous. Jesse James Armstrong jumping on Eddie Marlin in there. Drops the elbow down on Eddie. Again, oh my goodness.
I think Eddie was 65 here.
Nailed Eddie Marlin with his cane in there.
Well, I ain't not old as it used to be.
He's got Eddie bleeding.
But I'll tell you what, man, 65 years old in the ring bleeding for it, love that.
Tech challenger, Stephen Dunn and all that. Come on. Put that figure 4 leg lock on Eddie. Hey, come on, Jesse. Hey, break that stuff, guys. Come on. That is, I tell you, that is absolutely ridiculous. Come on, Jesse. Leave him alone. Man, I tell you. Jesse James Armstrong putting that figure four leg lock again on Eddie Marlin. Here comes Brian Christopher, PG-13 in there. And all of a sudden, Stephen Dunn, Tex Salinger, Jesse James Armstrong take off. And Eddie Marlin busted open in there.
Oh, he's selling.
From Jesse James Armstrong. And I mean to tell you, look at that. Let's get some help for Eddie. Come on, let's get him back there and get him.
Boy, I got to tell you, see something like that, it just makes my blood boil to see somebody like Jesse James Armstrong coming in there and jumping and pulling that stuff he did on Eddie.
Well, it's just part of that Smoky Mountain here.
Oh. Well, listen, I'm glad you came out here. I'll guarantee you one thing.
There you saw it.
You'll see the day never when you're the kind of a man that Eddie Marlin is. You get
a taste of the toughness.
Didn't you bother teach anything of kind of respect?
He did teach me something. He taught me how to kick booty and take names, Lance Russell. Yeah. Now, what I've done since I've been here is beat everybody up. Smoky Mountain is simply taking over, and you just saw me. I think there's a special announcement to be made. I think if we can, do we have my father on the phone right now? I think we do, don't we, Lance?
Is that right? Is he on the line? Well, let's get over here and find out.
Father!
Let's go over here and see if we can find out. Hello, Dad? Do we have a call?
Yes, go ahead.
There he is. Is that your dad?
Dad, is that you?
Yes. How you doing, Jesse?
I'm doing great, Bullet. I know you're in the Bahamas celebrating, and I hate to interrupt you, but I know you heard the news. I have desecrated and massacred, just like Smoky Mountain and the Armstrongs always do, the USWA as a whole. Eddie Marlin's old booty is now beat. Brian Christopher's been beat up. The King Jarrett. Dad, I'm so happy I can't talk.
Well, I can talk. I can tell you one thing, Bob. You sure taught your kid something. You taught him how to beat up on somebody that's not even involved in wrestling and pull the same kind of stuff you did up there after he had already had a bad leg from that figure four leg. What are you laughing at?
Eddie Marlin. Oh.
Russell.
Dad.
Russell.
Listen to my dad, Lance.
Lance Russell, let me tell you this. I taught my son how to survive in a business where it's a dog-eat-dog world. Now, I put the figure four leg lock on Eddie Marlin trying to teach him a lesson. And what Jesse James Armstrong did was finish the lesson. Now, I'm sick and tired of this war. I'm down here trying to celebrate the big takeover of Smoky Mountain of the USWA. We've beaten everybody you've got there. Why don't we just stop all this malarkey and make company against company? I've already got Smoky Mountain Wrestling. Now I'm ready to absorb USWA Wrestling, and I'll put the future of Smoky Mountain Wrestling on the shoulders of Jesse James Armstrong.
Later on,
I believe he can beat anybody in the world today. He's young, he's strong, and I taught him everything he knows, and he can hurt people. So if they got any guts up there, and since Eddie Marlin, the head of the snake, top of the food chain is gone, why don't we just put the whole thing up for grabs? If we lose, I'll let you have control of Smoky Mountain Wrestling. But if we win, if Jesse James Armstrong beats anybody you want him to beat, anybody that we want to beat him, we'll take over the USWA. Then I can run the whole thing like it should be run, like a wrestling organization should be run.
Well, I can tell you one thing. That's the stupidest idea I ever heard, Bob. Putting promotion against promotion in there. You've gotten it away from a wrestling thing. Why don't you quit?
Company. We're going to beat people up and take over. It's in the bag, Lance. Dad, I know you got to get back to the sun and celebrate and everything. I love you, Dad. Call me again. I'll call you when we take over.
We'll do it. And just tell this to Mr. Railman.
That's Randy Hales.
That is Randy Hales for everybody's information. He thinks it's a silly idea because he knows that Smoky Mountain's got the upper hand. He knows what Bullet Bob can do. He knows what Smoky Mountain wrestling talent can do. So if he's got any guts at all, now that Big Daddy's Eddie Marlin's gone, it's your job.
Okay, Bob.
Randy Hales, if you want to do it.
We've heard all of it we want to hear. Yes, I am. I'm going to cut it off. That's it.
That's it. He put up the challenge. Now listen, all I did was I put an old stooge, fat, jabroni man out of commission. What I did was I broke an old man's leg. It's just like shooting an old horse. He has done nothing but leech off of his son-in-law for the past 30 years. He's a never was, and he's a have been. Now, what I'll do, you heard my father, promotion versus promotion. Anybody that's got guts enough in the USWA to step in that squared circle and look across it into these eyes, it's going flat to their back, and we're owning the whole kit and caboodle. You dig that, lad?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, Jesse James. You sometimes I wonder.
No, I'm not done. I'm not done. Don't cut me off. Smoky Mountain has taken over, and we've built a force to be reckoned with. If I could have the other half of the USWA Tag Team Champions, Tracy Smothers, the wild-eyed Southern boy, come on out. And if I could have 450 pounds of man-eating beast, the Smoky Mountain Massacre, come out. And last but not least, Lance, a blast from your past and a blast from my past.
This some mask guy was rolling in. He used him for about 2 weeks.
Lassinger is coming to the Armstrong side of things, and he's going to help us. Look at that thing. Look at that, for the love of Pete.
You mean to tell me?
This is Smoky Mountain.
Hey, I thought he had a little more.
Look over here. Let me say one thing first. How much I love the Armstrongs and Smoky Mountain. Brian, thank you. First of all, I got another agenda down here besides coming to see my boy. There's a little punk, pipsqueak, short little guy named Brian Christopher. Now, I might be setting my sights a little too high, but I think I'm going to go after him first. And let me tell you something, Brian. Look into my eyes, boy. You ain't seen bad yet, but it's coming.
Well, you got a match here before you...
Lance Russell, what we're talking about here is this Fab Four you got here of Brian Christopher, Doug Gilbert, and PG-13 is finished. Let me repeat this again. Smoky Mountain Wrestling is what's hot, and the USWA is not. And before it's all said and done, the Smoky Mountain crew is taking over. We're taking over, Lance. I'm tired of you.
Come on, why don't you just get out? Both of you guys.
I'm going to hang out and watch Snake beat somebody up if you don't mind.
Here we go with action.
Okay, fast forward through this match, and it'll come back up with the box out on the set. So if you could just fast forward a little bit, but don't fast forward too much out. No, you need to rewind it. We'll just go from here.
Take care of your personal job a little bit later. Massacre!
Ooh.
Murdered him, Dave. 1, 2, 3. Time out. Be back in more.
Now watch this segment.
All right. Here's special delivery. What's this say?
Special delivery from the Bahamas, it says, Lance, for Jesse James.
You are about this whole situation. Look, that must be from
Inside baseball, Pat. The person that broke that stuff on the box is Jerry Hall.
Yeah, I looked at that.
Now we got cake all over the place.
Oh, I got a special party present I get sent by my daddy. I'm so happy.
Whoa! Double J! Jeff Jarrett! Ripping out of the special delivery package, and there he goes! Chasing Jesse James Armstrong, Jeff Jarrett! Out the back door! Dave Coy running out! Wolfie D, they're trying to gain Jeff back. They got a hold of Jeff out there as Jeff Jarrett surfaces from
Is that the front side of, is that Union?
Yeah.
James Armstrong.
That's Union. That Pizza Hut, I think, is gone, Adam. Is that right?
Yeah, I hadn't seen that. I see where, I see the cleaners next door now.
Television station.
The police station's gone.
We're going to take a break, and we'll
It's a Panera Bread now.
Yeah, I know. I've been in there a lot. Oh man, man, the babyface in the box.
Yeah, and I will tell more information on that, and I'm sure Adam is trying to cue it up to the Jeff interview. For the first time in several years, Jeff's been on television.
Let me get plugged up here. Okay. Now let's.
Now, we saw Eddie Marlin's
There you
best
go.
interview of his
Boy, I'll
career.
tell you what, it's
This
been
is
a long
Jeff's
time
best
since
interview of
I
his,
have
I
had
think.
the pleasure to do this and have this guy standing beside me. I'll tell you what, a great pleasure, Jeff Jarrett, to have you back here. Son of a gun, I haven't seen you so long. You've gotten big as a house. What have you been doing and everything? Tell me a little bit about what's been happening, Jeff.
Well, Lance, you just hit on it. It's been quite a while since I've stepped foot in this studio, almost 2 years.
Son of a gun.
And a lot of people have said, and I want to clear this up point, I want to clear it up first, that I've deserted the USWA. Some guys have been running around saying that. Well, I'm out here to say I didn't desert them, but I have been gone for 2 years. Because I went to the WWF, and Lance, you know as well as anybody that puts on a pair of boots and steps into that ring, their dream is to be in the main event at Madison Square Garden. And that's exactly where I've been the last 2 years, in the WWF. And I'm proud of that fact. But what I'm not proud of is that I've made tremendous sacrifice to achieve my dream. I didn't get to be around the USWA fans. And then I've also deserted my family, Lance, because my little brother Jason, I watched him grow up, play football 7 or 8 years, and then his last 2 years, his junior and senior season at Brentwood Academy, a nationally ranked team, I didn't get to see one game, and he was captain of the team. And then my little sister, when I went off to the WWF, she was just a freshman in college, and now she's fixing to graduate. And then what I'm not proud of at all is Eddie touched on it a couple of weeks ago. When my grandmother was put in the hospital, I flew in to see her, and we were close to losing her. But she don't even remember me being there. I flew out the next morning, and she don't even remember it. Lance, Jeff, that's really sticking by your family.
Yeah, I understand how you feel, and I know personally how this whole thing is. But son of a gun, I gotta just say this, and I guess we've all said it at one time or another. A man's got to do what a man's got to do, and when you're working for a living, you just can't take off sometimes. And I know in your heart you wanted to be in all those places.
Lance, I've got the chance now, because Eddie Marlin, he's more than a grandfather to me. He's the most loving, caring individual that I know. And when I got the call at 3 o'clock this morning, and I found out what happened to Eddie last night, I said, enough is enough. Now you, Brian Gerard James is your real name. I'll tell everybody my name, it's Jeff Jarrett. And what do? You come up with Jesse James. Does Double J ring a bell to you? Now, Brian, you know, but these people don't know, that I handpicked you to be by my side in the WWF. Out of hundreds of guys I could have picked, I picked you. Without Jeff Jarrett, you would be absolutely nothing in the wrestling world. And I carried you on the road, and I carried you all over the world. And what did you do? You screwed up time after time after time. And then you want to get personal. I decided to take some time off because I wanted to spend some time with my family. Because quite frankly, Eddie is getting up in his years, and I want to cherish each moment I can stay with him. But Brian, you want to come in here with your Smoky Mountain thugs, and you want to take over something real personal, real dear to my heart, and that is the USWA. Because, yes, Smoky Mountain, everybody knows about their big wheels, their big money investors, and they've got a lot of that. But what they don't have is somebody who can back it up in the ring, and the USWA's got it. Now, Brian, I'm accepting this challenge because, yes, sir, old Double J can do it. And when we step into that ring, you think those sand fleas over in Saudi were on your butt? Oh, when Double J gets through with you, oh, there ain't going to be nothing left of you, because I'm going to pluck each braid out of your hair. Because this is for Lance. I'm going to have an opportunity to make up some lost time. This is for not playing and not watching Jason play football. For my sister, for my father, who I got to see in 2 years, for my grandfather, and for the USWA fans. I'll be damned if I'm going to let you try to walk over them. So, Brian, boy, lace up them boots. That's an old saying, but it sure is true. And you get ready, because when I get through with you, you're going to realize that old Double J, that's J-E, double F, J-A-R-R-E-T-T. That's Double J, Jeff Jarrett, the world's greatest singer, the world's greatest wrestler, and you're going to find out the world's greatest defender of the USWA.
Well, he stepped right up, and the challenge was issued by Bob Armstrong and by Jesse James Armstrong. Bring on anybody, and there's the man that took it up. Jeff Jarrett said, let me in there. I'm ready to go with that ring. Let's go to Corey up in the middle. Oh, boy, good to see you.
All right, let's come out of the video right now. And, Pat, I think we've shown that before on this show before. But your thoughts on as we go ahead and come out of this entire video, if we could, right there, Adam, if you would, please. Pat, your thoughts on Jeff in the box? And
personal issue sell, man. Personal issue sell. He carried it all, back to the WWE and then the WWF at the time, I guess. And, God, that's just good stuff. That's just Southern wrestling like you read about.
I'll give you some first-hand information is that Jeff and Brian Armstrong walked out together from the WWF. They were upset on future creative. They walked out. Jeff was still under contract there, so he couldn't come back at that point. He was waiting then to go back to the WWF, but the key was he had to get a release, and he was asking for back pay on pay-per-view money. You follow me so far? He was waiting to do that, and he didn't want to do anything to screw it up. So he thought it was going to be a particular week, so he gave me a date. So I orchestrated the angle and made the plan to do that. So that Crenshaw, Mississippi show was on Friday night, and I'm thinking Jeff is going to make the return on Saturday morning. So I didn't go to Crenshaw, sent the angle down with Eddie and all the sort of thing that he was going to get beat up. So Jeff and I left Hendersonville. We went by the Nashville airport because Jeff said he thought he was going to get it, but he wasn't going to appear on TV till he got that check from the WWF. So we go to the airport, he gets a check, so we start leaving Nashville and we're headed to Memphis. I wanted the surprise factor on this angle. So what I did was we got in, I'm thinking exactly what town, about 30 minutes, 40 minutes from Memphis. Jeff and I stopped and got a motel room. We didn't want anybody in Memphis to see him. Nobody. Then Saturday morning we got up and already had Lawler fix a box, and we had that delivered to the TV station. And then we get back in Memphis and we drop Jeff up because people show up at the TV station early. We drop Jeff off at Lawler's house. Then I go to TV, set up the TV. Now, the interesting thing is I'm laying out the angle with Brian Armstrong, the whole deal. And I said, so I didn't smarten him up to the angle. I say finally, after you finish your interview, the guy comes out of the box and it's a new addition to your stable, and act like you know him and hug him and all that kind of stuff. In other words, he was not smart enough to the fact Jeff was going to be there.
Okay.
No clue. Nobody knew but Lawler and me in that building. I didn't smarten up Dave. I didn't smarten up Corey. I didn't smarten up Lance. I didn't smarten up the Hills. Nobody. And what you got is a shock deal. The crowd was shocked. The announcers were shocked. The whole world was shocked. So
it's real business.
And that was just great stuff. Can you pick out, and we showed a lot of videos today, what was the highlight of it to you? To me, it was Eddie's interview.
Yeah, Eddie's interview. There's no question about that. No question about that.
Second favorite was Jeff in the Box.
That's right.
What a show. Last take, Pat Trammell, and we'll get you, me, and Adam to bed. We're all three in different places, by the way. I don't want to start rumors here. We're not going to bed together. I'm in Jonesboro, he's in Birmingham, and Adam's in Georgia. But sum it all up for us in your last take. What did you get out of this show today?
Just great storytelling, a great angle, and you know, working with some of the best people that in wrestling at the time. You know that everybody. I mean, you know, the Armstrong speaks for themselves, and you got Jeff in there, and you got everybody else in there. It's just a great series of storytelling, and you included everything that Memphis had to offer to that angle.
All right, you want to say any last words to the people, and hopefully you can return next week, and Pat will be back next week, or Michael will be back next week on Talking Memphis Wrestling.
Absolutely. It's just good to be home, everybody. I've been running around here, there, and yonder, and then had some computer problems, but it's just good to be back with my Memphis Wrestling family.
Hopefully you'll be back next Tuesday.
Yes, sir.
All right. I think you told me today you won't be on the road, so I hope so. Thanks to Adam. Thanks to Pat. We missed Doc and Chris and Michael St. John. I'm Randy Hills. Everybody, I hope you enjoyed this look at the last great feud of the USWA, Smoky Mountain Wrestling and the USWA. Until next Tuesday, for Pat, I'm Randy Hills saying bye-bye, everybody. We out of here.
Talking Memphis Wrestling with Randy Hills and special guests.